Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Bill Karsten, President of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. I'm joined here today by Ray Orb, Reeve for Rural Municipality of Cupar and Chair of FCM's Rural Forum. As well, honored to be here with Mayor Valérie Plante from Montreal and Edmonton Mayor Don Iveson, who also chairs the FCM's Big City Mayors. In 1 week, Canada's 43rd Parliament will convene for the first time. When it does, local governments will have a clear message for members of Parliament. Let's work together to build better lives for Canadians. One of the best ways to do that is to empower local leaders to get more done. After all, we're the ones closest to people's everyday lives and everyday challenges. As frontline governments, we drive cost-effective local solutions that work. That's why today, FCM is launching a comprehensive roadmap for the first 100 days of government. It lays out in 15 very specific policy areas how the federal government can work with local leaders to get more done for Canadians. From getting infrastructure built to modernizing transit, from tackling housing affordability to responding to climate change, from improving rural internet access to championing rural communities. On each of these points and more, we've put together very concrete proposals to get the job done. Minority governments bring fresh opportunities for elected officials to work together to deliver concrete results. Building bridges and driving solutions is something we do on a daily basis. And these first 100 days are simply critical. Canadians will be looking for progress that they can feel and affects their everyday lives. The first 100 days are an opportunity for the government to show that they'll work with municipalities to get results on the ground. Later today, FCM will meet with Prime Minister Trudeau to discuss how federal municipal governments can continue to work together to do what? To build better lives for Canadians. And in the coming weeks, our board members will engage directly with members of party from every party, members of Parliament from every party right across the country. The fact is, Canadians want their elected representatives to represent them and for Canada to thrive. Our cities and communities need to drive from coast to coast. That includes rural, remote, and northern communities where 10 million Canadians live, work, and raise their families. Whether you're elected to Parliament Hill or to City Hall, federal and municipal governments all serve the very same people. Local leaders come to the table united and ready to deliver results. FCM's first 100-day roadmap lays out next steps to achieve exactly that. And it's time to bring Canadians together. As the government's closest to daily life, we're ready to work with every federal party to drive solutions. And together, we're ready to build the country that Canadians deserve. Now I'd like to turn the floor and the podium over to the chair of FCM's Rural Forum, Ray Orb. Ray?
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, President Karsten. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ray Orb, and I'm the chair of FCM Rural Forum. So as President Karsten said, for Canada to thrive, all of its communities need to thrive. And the fact is that rural communities are essential to this country's economy and to our way of life. We support vital industries from agriculture to manufacturing to natural resources. And we drive nearly 1/3 of Canada's economy. Rural leaders are on the ground with Canadians, making the most of limited tools to tackle the unique challenges our communities face. We understand that these challenges can't be solved with cookie-cutter approaches. That's why FCM's first 100 days roadmap calls for building a rural lens into the heart of federal government. That means designing federal programs, investments, and policies to reflect the needs of Canada's rural communities. It means adapting funding criteria and streamlining processes to meet rural realities. And it means bringing rural expertise to the table more often when national solutions are developed. We're also looking for this government to prioritize rural high-speed internet access, a key issue for rural businesses, students, and families. And we're urging them to expand support for local disaster mitigation projects to help our communities adapt to new weather extremes. We've made progress on a number of these fronts over the past few years, but there's still much more we need to do. The next Parliament needs to champion rural communities. Moving forward together on these priorities and more will empower rural leaders to build better lives. And that's good news for all Canadians. If Canada is going to reach its full potential, every community needs the right tools and opportunities to thrive. And now I'll introduce Mayor of Montreal, Valérie Plante, to say a few words.
Merci beaucoup. C'est un plaisir d'être accompagnée de mes collègues aujourd'hui. Il n'y a pas si longtemps, en fait, les Canadiens et Canadiennes ont choisi un nouveau gouvernement et bientôt la session parlementaire va s'ouvrir. Et c'était donc un très bon moment pour les membres de la Fédération canadienne des municipalités, grandes villes, plus petites municipalités, centres urbains et régions rurales, de se retrouver ensemble pour discuter de comment allons-nous profiter de ce gouvernement, si je le dis comme ça, comment est-ce qu'on peut en profiter au maximum pour faire avancer les enjeux qui nous interpellent tous et toutes. Et en ce sens, la feuille de route qui a été établie, la feuille de route des 100 premiers jours, est vraiment très importante puisqu'elle rassemble l'ensemble des priorités sur lesquelles nous nous attendons à ce que le gouvernement travaille avec ses collègues également. C'est une chose avec laquelle nous sommes très habitués au niveau municipal de travailler avec l'ensemble des partenaires. C'est notre pain quotidien, puisque pour trouver des enjeux aussi, des réponses à des enjeux aussi importants que l'habitation, parce qu'on sait qu'il y a beaucoup de Canadiens et Canadiennes qui n'arrivent pas à se loger convenablement, que ce soit au niveau de l'électrification des transports ou encore de l'augmentation du transport collectif, la transition écologique, c'est autant de sujets sur lesquels les villes travaillent en partenariat avec les gouvernements provinciaux, mais également le gouvernement fédéral. Alors, cette feuille de route, c'est une occasion en or pour le nouveau gouvernement. Cet après-midi, nous aurons la chance de discuter avec le premier ministre, M. Justin Trudeau, afin de lui remettre, si je peux dire, en bonne et due forme cette feuille de route, mais aussi d'entendre la façon dont il perçoit le travail qui doit être fait en collaboration avec les municipalités. Et au final, je tiens à dire que, quelles que soient les différences qui peuvent subsister à même nos réalités respectives, encore une fois, qu'on soit une petite ville ou une grande ville, il n'en demeure pas moins que les maires et les mairesses, nous sommes des alliés incontournables parce que nous sommes sur la première ligne, que ce soit parce qu'il y a une inondation, que ce soit parce qu'il y a une crise du logement, que ce soit parce que la population n'arrive pas à se déplacer facilement, la population se tourne vers nous, les maires et les mairesses, et c'est dans cet esprit que nous souhaitons, bien sûr, collaborer avec le nouveau gouvernement afin de l'inciter, mais aussi de l'encourager, de lui donner de très bons arguments pour nous aider à accomplir ce pourquoi les Canadiens et les Canadiennes nous ont tous élus respectivement. Merci. Oh, and now, j'avais oublié mon petit point, j'aimerais vous présenter le président du caucus des maires des grandes villes, ici à la FCM, M. Don Iveson.
Merci bien, Madame la mairesse. Thank you all for being here. The first 100 days roadmap makes it clear that municipalities are Canada's builders. We build and maintain the roads and transit systems that support our economy and our quality of life. We build and maintain the libraries and recreation centers and water treatment plants that make our communities safer and more livable and more fun. And we do it with just a fraction of Canadians' tax dollars. 60% of this country's infrastructure is our responsibility, and we do it with 10% of the resources at best. And so the steps we're proposing will empower Canada's cities and counties and local governments to deliver frontline progress that Canadians themselves spoke out loudly for in this election. They want long-term and permanent funding stability so cities can deliver world-class public transit, whether it's a subway or whether it is a rural regional bus network, responsibly and without interruption. We want to see a building on the success of the National Housing Strategy to make housing more affordable for more Canadians in communities of all shapes and sizes from coast to coast to coast. And we want to support for more local action on everything from climate adaptation to the opioid crisis. And so our recommendations in the 100-day roadmap also speak to the importance of rural communities and to bringing their unique experiences, challenges, and opportunities to the table. For example, in my own region, within an hour's drive of Edmonton, there are communities that do not have high-speed internet access. And we see this all across northern Alberta, which is part of Edmonton's trading area, that this is a limitation to the economic potential, economic growth, and economic diversification of one of the prairie regions that's crying out for solutions right now to help diversify and strengthen the Canadian economy. And so rural broadband is one of the things that absolutely will help with that. And in fact, at a time where there is so much division in our country, as Mayor Plante alluded to, mayors and city councilors and reeves and town councilors every day have to bridge the divide. A city council or a county council is a lot like a minority parliament. There's a lot of brokerage and a lot of give and take and a lot of creativity and the necessity of maintaining respect in order to get things done. And so we think that local government leaders have a lot to offer as models for how to get things done for the Canadians that we all serve together. And so Canada itself comprises an incredible diversity of communities of all sizes in all of our regions, and each and every one of those communities plays an important role in making this whole country work as a system. And when we come together, through organizations like the FCM in particular, municipalities drive national collective impact, creating jobs, sparking innovation, tackling climate change. You know, we're not only on the front lines of the problems, we are very often working with industry and working with our public and working with researchers and working with the people on the ground. We are where the solutions are as well. And so we see opportunities, for example, with the Western Economic Solutions Task Force, to deliver new solutions, practical solutions for struggling prairie and Western communities in order to respond to the economic issues that are at stake in our country right now. So local governments at the end of the day all add up to being nation builders. Day to day in the work that we do on the ground and collectively when we come together in unity through this organization. And we do that every single day by instinct. C'est notre pain quotidien, as Mayor Plante said, which I love. And so we are ready to work with every party to make this 43rd Parliament a productive one for the Canadians that we all serve. And now I'd like to turn it back over to President Karsten to handle the questions. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Mayor Iveson and Mayor Plante and Mr. Ray Orb. Thank you so much. We will entertain your questions. I would ask you, if you would, to try to keep them to the launch of the first 100 days of this government, because it is important, I think, for Canadians to see leadership as to what is asked of the federal government from the municipal sector to drive our issues forward. So I'll take some questions. Yes, sir.
Bill Curry from the Globe and Mail. A question for Mr. Iveson, if you don't mind.
Certainly.
So over the past few years, you know, the federal government announced this 10 or 12-year plan, and it's been criticized for delays. And one of the reasons the federal government has said is it's hard sometimes to get the provincial government to commit to projects. And
Yeah, we're finding that too.
yeah, so here you have across the country, provinces are all in different boats. Some are in surplus, some, like in your own province, are in restraint mode. So it might be harder to get amendments. So how do you think this federal government and this minority parliament should deal with the fact that some provinces are in spend mode and some are in restraint mode as you're trying to
I think this country needs courageous leadership now. from its local government leaders and its national government leaders and its provincial government leaders. And I think we have had already very clear signals from the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, and the ministers we've connected with even just in the last couple of days that they're willing to get creative to get things done for Canadians. And where provinces want to partner with that, we're going to get more leverage, we're going to get more done, we're going to get better results, we're going to create more jobs, we're going to solve more problems, we're going to save more money. And where there are provinces that refuse to do that, we still have to deliver all those same outcomes for Canadians that we were sent to city halls, legislatures, and parliament to deliver. And it will become clear over time which provinces are willing to be part of the solution and which are putting roadblocks up for political reasons or other reasons. And so I think there's an opportunity for us to lean in. But as creatures of the province, it really will fall to the federal government to also lean in and put pressure, whether it's on concluding housing bilaterals in Quebec, which are holding up important work in communities of all sizes in Quebec around housing, or whether it's, we had permanent transit dollars in Alberta until our city charters were torn up, but now having federal transit dollars come in permanently will reignite the conversation about what long-term transit policy in Alberta will be. And so the federal government needs to lead boldly, working with us to pull provinces back to the table so we can all deliver the results that Canadians deserve.
So when you say Ottawa should be creative, are you saying Ottawa might need to increase its share of projects, even it might mean the total number of projects being built is less?
Well, I think the federal government has a number of tools at its disposal, and we saw that with the doubling of the gas tax this year, the federal government's messaging around that was, if provinces are going to hold up money, we're going to find a different way to get money into the hands of local governments. The frustration of that is the federal government shouldn't have to spend more to backfill provinces' role, particularly where it's their constitutional responsibility, for example, in and around housing. That said, we do have a national housing strategy. We know that delivering housing is one of the things that will support not only economic growth, but reduce demand for expensive public services like healthcare, which is a provincial responsibility. And so if there's an opportunity to do the right thing and help reduce demand for a costly provincial public service, surely provinces can come to the table and be partners. And if they're not, then the federal government needs to use all the tools in its toolkit to drive them back into a productive nation-building conversation that involves all three orders of government. So they're going to have to be very firm, and we'll be there right beside them.
Thank you very much, Mayor Iveson. If I could just piggyback on that, Mayor Iveson alluded to the gas tax transfer, which was doubled based on last March 2019 budget. That represented $2.2 billion to municipalities across the country that we can actually use right away to get projects ready that we're ready to go. So we've asked for that in election, for this past election, and certainly it's still something that we talk about in our messaging, that doubling of the gas tax is what? A predictable, direct source of revenue for municipalities. So certainly that's another message that we'll continue to drive. Next question, right here, please. Well, there's the old expression that I use many, many days over my lifetime, that reach for the stars and you're not going to end up with a handful of mud. So certainly it is an aggressive plan, but we believe, and we've talked to we've talked at this point after today to all of the major parties in government, and we have presented 6 main topics, and they're broken down into infrastructure, housing, climate change, rural issues, and I believe the other one was transit. Did I say that? So, we've given them a little bit of a condensed form, but all of these, I think, are actionable items to at least address whether the money flows for them at this point or not. They're items that need to move forward, and what better time to start than the first 100 days?
I just also want to ask you about firearms, because there are some
That's correct. Well, I think, again, in so many of these complex issues, there's a dual role. I think that, again, at the end of the day, and this is something, again, I think was alluded to just a minute ago, the people we represent don't look at whose jurisdiction it falls in. They look for results. So we need to find ways, folks, to collaborate, to work together, to get these issues addressed, and that's exactly what we're proposing, is let's work together to figure this out. Even though the federal government has taken that position, we need to collaborate together and work. Okay? Yes, sir.
Bill's from my politics. So how should provincial premiers read this document? Because a lot of the proposals suggest a circumvention of provincial governments and other policies.
So, again, it's a great question. Thank you. And I don't want to sound like a one-track with my answers, but it's all about working together. You know, I repeat myself that when any one of us as elected members knock on a door, they don't necessarily differentiate between you being representing certain issues. They look at issues that are near and dear to their hearts, and we suggest that all orders of government need to work better, closer together. When federal issues are on the table, the other thing I think that's important in our dialogue and discussions is that the municipal sector that we represent, that I represent as president of FCM, do in fact need a seat at the table so that we can have input at the stage that policy is being created, that we can actually guide as to what best would work for us in delivering that program or that policy.
And we're in a minority parliament. I mean, what proposals here specifically could there potentially be political consensus on as well? I guess quite a few number of these proposals include a lot of new spending, and it's fairly,
Yeah.
it's fairly run deficits.
Yeah, great question as well. I believe my immediate response would be that we recognize that minority governments do in fact represent challenges, but the flip side of that is minority governments also represent opportunities. And that's the area of this with the minority government that we're going to focus on, where we can collaborate with various parties. And I'm not going to address specifics today, quite frankly, because I think the people we've spoken to today need to go back to their leaders. In the case of someone we met with this morning with the Progressive Conservative Party, I could say to you that we have an incredible first meeting with a member of parliament that is going to take our ideas back to the leader. In fact, committed to us on several things, but I don't think it's something for me to report to the media. I think they need to be involved in our conversation, and certainly I would ask you to, specifically the 6 that I mentioned, is ask the various parties as you talk to them on other issues and not, what their feelings are as to how they can help FCM move these issues forward, the 15 and the first 100 days. Yes, sir? Mais oui. Merci beaucoup.
Étant donné que tu es venu de... Ouais, c'est ça. Tu es venu directement de Montréal, écoute. Bonjour.
Madame, c'est une rencontre annuelle, celle-ci.
Oui.
Et vous dites dans votre communiqué qu'un gouvernement minoritaire offre des occasions uniques.
Oui.
En quoi vous comptez, comment vous profiter du fait que ce soit un gouvernement minoritaire cette année en particulier?
Bien, je pense qu'un gouvernement minoritaire fait en sorte que si, par exemple, il y avait des décisions qui allaient vraiment à l'encontre de cette feuille de route-là, quoi qu'on sent qu'il y a quand même une bonne compréhension de ces enjeux-là, mais admettons que du jour au lendemain, la mobilité n'était plus du tout sur la carte du gouvernement actuel, bien, le fait d'être un gouvernement minoritaire, bien, nous, ça nous donne une opportunité de pouvoir changer la donne ou du moins mettre de la pression sur ce gouvernement-là. Alors, bien sûr, la session va s'ouvrir bientôt. On va voir un peu comment l'ajout parlementaire va se faire, mais définitivement, ça l'amène de nouvelles opportunités, de nouveaux défis aussi, là. Ça, c'est clair dans tous les sens, parce qu'en plus, le Canada est un grand pays très complexe, on le voit, on le sait, mais on a bien l'intention de saisir l'opportunité. Et cette feuille de route de 100 jours était une façon très claire, affirmée, de dire au gouvernement, voici ce à quoi on s'attend, parce que les maires et les mairesses, on a quand même une grande influence dans nos communautés.
Une question pour vous et pour M. Iveson, peut-être. Les relations entre les provinces ces jours-ci ont tendu. Encore aujourd'hui, on le voit. Avez-vous l'impression que vous êtes plus solidaires entre vous, les maires des grandes villes, ou ces relations provinciales tendues-là se reflètent aussi dans vos relations à vous?
Bien, nécessairement, le portrait politique, les tensions politiques ont un impact sur l'ensemble des Canadiens et Canadiennes, dont les municipalités, les maires et les mairesses. Ceci étant dit, la force de la Fédération canadienne des municipalités, c'est de mettre beaucoup d'emphase sur ce qui nous rassemble et ce sur quoi on veut travailler ensemble, tout en étant conscient qu'une communauté rurale est différente d'une grande ville. Mais je dirais que c'est ce qui vient vraiment donner beaucoup de force à notre mouvement. Et je pense que tant mieux si on fait partie de la solution, la FCM, et je pense qu'on le fait à travers nos échanges pour justement, s'assurer qu'il y a une meilleure compréhension, parce qu'au final, c'est souvent une question de communiquer, de se parler, de parler de nos réalités respectives pour mieux se comprendre. Alors, bien sûr, ce qui se passe au niveau fédéral et provincial, bon, ben ça, on n'a pas nécessairement tant on peut pas nécessairement directement les influencer, mais je pense que d'être des maires et des mairesses de différentes villes à travers le pays, et de pouvoir se discuter franchement, ouvertement ensemble de nos différentes problématiques. Moi, je pense qu'on fait partie de la solution. Et sinon, bien, écoutez, Mme Freeland vient d'être choisie pour s'occuper des relations gouvernementales et je lui fais confiance. Elle a su négocier avec l'administration Trump. Alors, je suis certaine qu'elle saura sortir des atouts, quelque chose de ses manches pour pouvoir faciliter, je dirais, l'unité canadienne.
Je ne sais pas si je peux ajouter à ça, mais comment est-ce qu'on dit support group en français? Support group.
Un groupe de soutien.
Un groupe de soutien. La FCM, c'est un groupe de soutien pour les maires et les conseillers avec les problèmes qu'on a avec les provinces. But I can say also that solidarity, really, and unity across urban and rural, English and French, north and south, large and small, is what will get us through this, because there are a lot of voices that are seeking to divide this country and seeking to divide regions of our country and seeking to divide even constituencies within given provinces. And at city halls and town halls and county halls across this country, we can't get away with that. People won't tolerate that in our communities at the local level because they do not want to see their community torn apart. And so we have to lead as unifiers and bring people together. And the 100 Days document brings a unified set of priorities from every part of this country to a parliament that Canadians want to see unify. And I think if we can achieve that together on some of these issues even, maybe not all of them in 100 days, but if we can make progress together, then I think we can create a clear expectation that I think Canadians hold. We can articulate a clear expectation that premiers need to come back into leadership and be part of the solution rather than driving division in this country.
Dernière question, last question.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup. To you, sir. Thank you.
Beyond the control of not only you, but beyond the control of the federal government to actually get some of these projects?
Well, thank you for the question. Again, it's all about absolutely building better lives for Canadians. I'll start there. I can't emphasize enough that the members that I've talked to who represent their communities, they're not concerned about processes or how things actually work. They just want the results. One of the things that we keep coming back to is that our message to federal parties and their candidates during the election has been very simple, and it's been a very clear message. One way to do it is to empower local leaders to get more done. So I think the minister understood that that message, that the urgency is in fact in finding solutions as to how to flow those funds. I'll add to the conversation that we're very pleased about, that the Liberal Party platform in this election did in fact include a clear message about infrastructure funding, that if in fact there's funding that has not been used for one reason or another, prorated per province by the end of 21, they will move that funding directly to the municipalities prorated in that province through the gas tax fund. So I think that sends again a very clear signal that status quo is not acceptable, that we need to find solutions to these problems. And I think Minister McKenna, quite frankly, in our conversation with her yesterday, really emphasized that she's aware of that. I think it was very sincere that the minister came to us and after her speech put on her hard hat, indicating in fact that she was ready to go to work and find solutions to those. So I would say on that, quite frankly, I would be more than willing to have a phone call from you or any of the media, or direct through our media folks, of course, to answer that question again in 2 or 3 months' time. What are we seeing happening? And I'm very optimistic that we're going to see some results based on our direct questions to the minister and others that we meet.
You talked a lot, just for maybe, you mentioned trying to get rural lands into the heart of government. I'm curious, then, you had a rural minister, rural economic development minister in the last parliament. There's one for why does it seem, even though with the minister maybe that's not, that there isn't a rural lens at the heart of government?
Was that for you? Okay, certainly.
Yeah, of course, we're appreciative of the fact that the Liberal government has put in Marianne Monsef into that position, and so we're actually, I think some of our Rural Forum members are meeting with her, bringing her in to speak to the other members across Canada. When Minister Jordan was in that position, she had a very good understanding of what was happening in rural Canada and the challenges around that, and we're hopeful that this minister does too. But just to go back to your other question about Minister McKenna, if you don't mind, Minister McKenna mentioned yesterday, cities are important, rural communities are important, small communities all across this nation are important, and she does know, I think she knows, starting to know that file very well because of her previous experience in government. And so when you talk about all those different kind of sizes of communities, and she has a good understanding of what needs to be done, we're really looking forward to working with her, and I can say that on behalf of the Rural Forum, we're interested in meeting with her as well.
I would just add one other thing on top of that, that the department that was set up last March, I believe, was for Minister Bernadette Jordan, certainly covered more of the economic development aspect of rural. So what we're saying with the rural lens is to take everything that federal government does, whether it's policy or programs they're putting together, make sure that that has a filter of looking at how that affect or how's it best filtered through that lens moving forward to through using the rural lens, making sure that that's addressed, okay? Thank you. Thank you, everyone, ever so much. Merci beaucoup. Have a great day. Take care.